Well, hello and welcome to Over the Wall, a podcast involving me, Dan Orphan, aka Mr. Big Jams, and LeonArthur talking through everything to do with Chinese Dota. At the moment, that's just the second division DPC and a couple of upper division stuff, but this week we're going to be covering all of that. Leon, how have you been doing this week?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good. I've been seeing a lot of you during OGA Dota Pit, and that is good. And for me myself, recently just a little update. I did one DPC cast, and it was very happy milestone for myself. Even though it was just an emergency stand-in for Wingblade who was sick, Purdue. But yeah, it was a pretty good milestone for myself. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty high for an entire week.
Exactly. The Over the Wall boys going onwards and upwards.
Woo!
That was Eastern Europe, though, so we're not allowed to talk about it on this podcast. People will send us angry messages. Let's just get it going straight away, then, no further ado. Talk to me a little bit about what's been happening in the lower division where things are heating up, looking at that
Man.
league table.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. So as of right now, as we are speaking, there are five teams. They are sitting at 4-2, the score of 4-2, and they still have one more series to play. All five of them that have the chance to qualify to upper division are all playing in the coming 2 days. So it means that if they want to have the chance to qualify, or even to force tiebreaker or be in the run for the tiebreaker, they have to win their one last game. Whoever the loses the one last game, they will just automatically out. So it will be a very heartbreaking day for a lot of them, and especially only two slots for five teams, and that is some very wild stuff.
It's worth mentioning that if you've not been following the Chinese low division DPC, they've crammed the entire thing into 3 weeks. So that's why we're very much now at the head of this, where you might be going. Other regions are really only just kicking off. So talk to me about those teams who are vying for promotion on currently joint first place. We have Aster Aries, Sparkling Arrow Gaming, Team Magma, Extreme Gaming, and YBB. Talk to me a little bit first about Aster Aries. I know we've covered them on previous episodes, but what have they been doing particularly well? Or what do they need to do to step up?
I think for Esther Aries, man, like this team, like talk about, they have Red Panda, they have like Ulu, one of the I think he is actually the youngest player in the entire Division 2 for Chinese division. He's only 18th, so it's pretty crazy. This team has been showing some pretty good stuff. I think the most notable win they have is probably against wait, let me see. All right, man. So they actually lost to SAG and lost to Extreme Gaming. So lost the two of the stronger team in the division. So the last game of theirs is gonna go up against Magma. So honestly, the wins that they gotten are on the three weakest team of this entire division. So the last one, Magma, is also pretty strong. So honestly, I'm a little bit worried for Esther Aries. They really have to pull off their AA game if they want to be able to get this win and then maybe get into the run of the tiebreaker, or even if they're lucky enough, if YBB loses their one last game and Aries wins, there will be no tiebreaker at all. So
All right, okay. So
it's a
that's an
pretty
interesting one.
that's a
Let's
pretty
preview
intense
that
situation.
mashup again against Team Magma. They also joined first place. They've beaten NG, CDEC, SAG, and lost to YBB and Extreme, and also beat Shinchen Gaming as well. So, what sort of stuff can we expect Magma to see to pull out against Aster Aries?
Oh, I think for Magma, the one special thing about Magma is that their position 1 and 2 are switchable. Because the position 1 of Magma used to play position 2 for a long time, and they got him in, and then he had to do this adjustment of transitioning to a carry from a mid, and this is why we have been seeing initially at when the DPC started, he plays a lot of Ember Spirit, safe lane, stuff like that. So I would say that the adjustment of this particular play is very important, and if he is able to finally come to his final form in this one last game, he might be able to take it away for his team, because everyone else from Magma side are actually playing pretty well, especially the off lane, TZY. He has been phenomenal on this entire DBC.
TZY, he's a very new player. He arrived in 2016. It doesn't say his age on his Wikipedia. Do you know how old he is?
I think he's like one of the oldest player for sure.
Oh,
I
really?
think he
Okay.
was, Yeah, he debuted very late. I think he debuted around 25 or 26. If I recall correctly, Magma was his first team. And then when he joined the team, he was like 26. So he's definitely a pretty old player, I would say.
Yeah, Magma certainly seemed to be his first team of any success. He was in a couple of development squads and stuff like that, Ocean, but this is his first team where he's had major success. That's interesting. When you have an offlaner like this who begins to kind of emerge during the lower division, do you think he's a sort of player who could get picked up upper division if he's having such a phenomenal time? Or is it just the case of sticking with this Magma squad?
I'm not sure. I think sticking with Magma definitely would be the best option here because if he would have been picked up by upper division teams, he would already gotten an offer, right? Because Magma, they are run by a couple of big streamers in China. So I would say that their salary level is definitely not as high as any other upper division one. If they are able to get any offers like that, they'll 100% go, I think. So him staying in the team, I would just say that maybe teams are really not liking his age. I think his age probably poses a limitation on himself, whether whether or not the other teams are interested in picking up him. Because age in China is a huge deal. They want to sign players for long term, and that's why they want players that are young.
It's interesting to hear. So if you were to, let's go back into the matchup. If you were to talk and predict this matchup a little bit, Ares versus Magma, who would you expect to win first off?
I would say Magma.
Is that a firm one? You're very quick in that response. Is that definite in your mind, or very strong favourites, or is that does Ares have a strong chance here?
I would say probably like a 60-40 in favorable to Magma. Cause I've been watching them for a long time. They have been together for a pretty long time as a squad, as a 4-man squad. And I would say that they are very familiar with each other. And as for Esther Aries, they got together for this season. They are still finding their way, I would say. And all the victories they've gotten so far are against the weaker team as well. So because of this reason and because of the previous one that we talked about, I would say Magma 60 and Esther Aries 40. And something to take note about is that Esther Aries, they are not playing with White Album so far. They're still using Phoenix, if I recall correctly.
White Album, is he still in Europe or?
I think he's in quarantine.
Right.
I think he's still in quarantine. So the one that is playing the mid right now is actually Phoenix. Yeah, the last game that they are playing is still Phoenix on the squad, so they don't have White Album just yet, which is a big deal for them, I believe. Because if White Album is there, I definitely think that White Album is the best player in the team.
That's an interesting one. So that talking about these two teams, I mean, I going into the story of kind of what would happen for promotion or not promotion. Magma have been a bit of a yo-yo club. They started in the upper division, they went down to the lower division, and then kind of stayed there. Would it be a really big issue if these players were to stick into the lower division? Might you see them kind of collapse and fall apart, or are they strong enough to stick together and continue fighting in the lower division?
I think they will probably stay together. Yeah, I mean they have been sticking together for so far, and the entire purpose and motive and aim for the organization to form together, for everyone to come together, is that the three owners, the big China streamers, YYF, Zhou, and Long Didi, they wanted to create a club to foster the young blood. So because of this reason, unless something drastically changes, otherwise I don't think they will all of a sudden just pull out from this project and cancel this off. So I'll say that Magma as an organization and the team definitely stay together. Player wise, the mid player is definitely picking up a lot of traction right now. And I would say that if someone were to get pushed by upper division team, it would most likely be him.
Fair enough. And is the same true of Asta Aries? I mean, White Album is a big player. He was a TI player. Would he stick around if the squad fails to qualify without him?
Okay, one thing about China org is that they probably all sign a pretty damn long contract, I would say.
Yeah.
Like long as in more than 1 year, which is pretty long because normally Dota players they sign with an offer for a year only. Yeah, so I would say that it really depends on how the organization want to manage their contract. Because it's not like you want to leave and you can leave freely. It all comes down to organization to do the final decision. So yeah, I would say for a White Album, the best aim right here is definitely to be good enough to get promoted back to the main squad of Esther.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. He will be competing with Ori though, so that would be quite a competition, I would say.
It's a tricky one. Okay, let's go into the next matchup on December 17th. Actually, it's the first one, which is Shinchen versus YBB. Talk to me about these two teams. I think we've discussed them in a previous episode, but let's remind viewers what they're like and what we expect to see coming out in that. Because Shinchen aren't in the Rumble here. YBB are the only team in this, the only team out of these two who can qualify. What do you expect them to do that because of that, or is it this going to be a close matchup?
Yeah, so one thing to mention is that YBB is actually the second team of Extreme Gaming.
Okay.
Yeah, they are both in the same organization.
Yeah.
So I think YBB is only in the run right now because they actually managed to 2-1 Extreme Gaming, which was a pretty hard fought series, I would say. But that's definitely one of the biggest surprise here. And also they 2-0 Magma as well. The 2-0 Magma as well. So yeah, the fact that they 2-0 these two very big competitor of themselves that going, for the promotion to upper division, I would say this is the strong reason why they are even in the running. So I would say YBB definitely is the biggest dark horse here among the 5 teams because you never know, man. They have already slayed 2 giants. Could they slay another one? Easily, because Shenzhen themselves, you can't even say that they are the giant because they are at 6th place right now. They haven't been amazing. They are a team that come from open qualifiers with a lot of new players. So in this regard, I would say that YBB, they're definitely looking. This series between YBB and Shenzhen, out of the 3 series that we are going to see, are definitely the one that is the most one-sided one, I would say. I think YBB is going to take this one, especially when the stakes are so high.
So what have YBB been doing in the past couple of weeks? Because you mentioned those big games. Is it been standard Dota? Are they doing anything particularly unusual or kind of? I noticed there's a lot of Weaver Tide. Are they a very kind of set little team in their ways, or anything different they're up to?
I think for YBB is that it feels like they understand the draft pretty. They understand themselves pretty well, knowing that they are. I wouldn't say they are a new team because most of them actually play with Extreme Gaming last season. So they definitely have some kind of synergy and chemistry together already. And I think that is one of the biggest advantage they can have in such a new season. And especially like you say in the initial of the podcast is that the entire season is crushed into 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's really intense for all these teams. They don't have much time to gel together. They don't have much time to experiment heroes combination at all. It's kind of okay, guys, what do we learn today? Let's try to apply it tomorrow. So for a squad that have been together for long, definitely very advantageous for them compared to the other ones that are just last minute together. So I think in this regard, YBB definitely show that their potential is really high here. And they have been winning some really tough matches as well, which is pretty amazing. And all the matches is not even the matches that they lost, they made it very hard for the enemy to close it down. So yeah, it reminds me a lot of Vichy Gaming in a way, like a lot of resilience. It's not a squad that can be easily taken down, even though they don't have really big names in the scene.
Let's move on then to their sister team, Extreme Gaming. They are probably the big boys of the division. Would you say this being in this tiebreaker on 4-2 is a bit of a disappointment for them? Because this is a big team with Paparazzi, PYW, and DY. For me, I was surprised that they weren't taking the division by storm.
Yeah, me too. I think them not being able to stay in the camp together because it's a huge matter because they had to play from quarantine. They had to play from their own hotels. I think they're quarantining in, and then I think that definitely limited their performance. But I was stand with you. I think this is definitely a huge disappointment for them. The fact that they are not stomping this through, and most importantly, yesterday they actually lost to CDEC, a team that has never gotten a win in this entire DPC, got their first series win against the biggest team in the entire division. So it was quite crazy, especially like CDC. They had drama yesterday. LGD made an announcement for the sister team CDC that they found out that MKS Mikasa, the Malaysian carry player, actually, might have been gotten himself involved in some match fixing stuff. So they made some investigation, I think, because they said that they have already submitted the evidence to Valve. So yeah, they immediately expelled him. And then they have to play with a stand-in, and they still managed to win against Extreme Gaming. So it's wow, man. It's wow.
That is a crazy one. What happened in that series? Why did they lose? Because it's a 2-1 series. That
Yeah.
was yesterday. Looking at the drafts,
I
it
think
doesn't look
I
like
think
they
it
were
was some
particularly
yeah.
well drafted.
I think it was some comeback actually. I think it was some comeback. I'm not particularly sure, but I know that once ONC, the player that they had for stand-in, was very phenomenal in the game. Because I
Really?
read it from their interview that the entire team gave the MVP to this standing carry player, saying that he particularly one man carried the entire team.
Wow, what a guy.
Yeah.
Let's roll into their rivals then, the team they're coming up against, which is Sparkling Arrow Gaming and one of the top teams of the region. How have they been doing so far in the past couple of weeks?
I would say that they probably didn't started too well because they lost 2 series in week 1, which is pretty scary. They lost their first 2 series as well, and as we all know, if you want to be promoted, you can't really lose more than 2 games because losing 2 games is already putting yourself in a pretty intense situation where you need to not lose any other games
Yeah.
or series in the entire remaining of the season. So but they did it though. SAG, they started 0-2 and then they climbed it back to 4-2 right now. So it is a pretty impressive recovery, I would say. In the players in the wheel, they even say that the caster were asking, how did you guys manage to bounce back so well? And then the players said, we had a big argument. And after the argument, everything became well. So
Do you know what the
yeah.
content of that argument was? Did they go into any more details?
Nah, I'm not sure. Chinese players interview, they talk the least, I swear. It's like it's like they just don't want to talk. They just feels like they want to get it over with every time they are in the interview. So yeah, it was pretty hard to get any of the really content things coming out from their interviews. But
Is
yeah,
there
having a big argument still.
is there a Chinese on a slight sub note? Is there a Chinese like Seb as a player? He's when you interview Seb, he just talks and talks and talks. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
impossible not to get 7 hours of content out of him. Is there a Chinese player who's known for being like that?
Mm, I would say maybe Charlie. At least Charlie's is definitely the one. I mean,
Looks
Charlie's
like
is
he
just
is,
like,
yeah.
yeah, he's just a content by himself. It's very rare. That's why he has gotten a lot of fans in China. I think Somnus is also another one that talks quite a lot. He memes a lot as well. The two of them memes a lot. I think they're the rare one. For AME though, from a PSG LGD, like he's the one that doesn't talk at all. He just the interviewer will just ask him a bunch of questions and then he will say, "Yeah, I think so." Yeah, and that's why people always get fascinated if he speaks more than a few words in the interview, and then people will say this is a medical miracle that we just happened. This guy actually talked. Yeah.
Very good. So let's call that series of SAG versus Extreme. Who would you put in as the favourites for people watching that?
Oh man, I feel like SAG they're having their momentum. They won 4 series in a row. And then Action Gaming, they just lost a pretty tough one to CDC, the one that they probably should not ever lost to, the one team that they should never lost to. So I would say mentally, I would say SAG could actually surprisingly be on advantage because Action Gaming, like you say just now, they have 3 tier players, a lot of attention for them on them, a lot of expectation on them as well. And for SAG, they're like, I mean, we are back against the wall, man. We don't really have anything to worry about. If we don't qualify and get promoted to upper division, at the end of the day, we are a sister team of RNG anyway. So not much expectation and obligatory
Obligation.
obligation on them anyway. So I would say that SAG, if they put themselves in the light situation, they probably could win this out because high pressure is really something that crushes you in such a high stake game.
It's an interesting one. I also want to talk about a little bit what we can expect to see coming out in that matchup. What sort of Dota have the teams been playing? Is it going to be, and how will they match up? What sort of picks do you expect will be kind of contested highly?
So for Extreme Gaming, I think their strategy right now is pretty potent. They'll always almost have paparazzi on a hero that can actually carry. So it feels very similar to how Miracle play mid back then. maybe to 2017, where he'll play a lot of carry-ish mid laner, mid heroes. And Paparazzi fits the role right now. He has been playing a lot of Queen of Pain, Lina, OD. All of these heroes have some potential to carry the game by himself. And for the carry player, he has been playing a lot of fighting-ish heroes that don't really take a lot of resources and can jump into the fight pretty early on. Ursa, Luna, heroes like that. So I think this style that they have right now is pretty obvious already. So for SAG, I think if they do their homework hard, they probably could find a way to restrict and limit what Extreme Gaming can do in terms of drafting. And for SAG side, they have been playing a lot of Razor, some IO as well. So yeah, I would say the Chinese meta right now is all about snatching the best heroes. I would say Razor is the number one most contested pick on the core role in China, and he actually has 55% win rate, pretty high, I would say. So I would say definitely this hero is going to be very, very contested.
So Razor's being played primarily as a position 1 because we've seen him quite a lot at position 1 in Europe and also position 3. Is he not played an offlaner at all in China?
Mostly the position 2 and 1, I would say. They don't really like position 3 on Razor because most of the time for China, their style is that they want the position 3 to be some tanky cores that can initiate. That's why Mars is still the very contested pick on the offlane side for Chinese team for like, 1.5 years already. So yeah, and Mars actually has a perfectly balanced 50% win rate.
Classic
in
Mars.
in the entire division. So definitely the hero to watch out for.
In just going more broadly into the Chinese kind of meta, I know we're close to a patch. We'll do a bit of a preview of the Division 1 meta kind of after the patch, and also next week when it's next week, fortnight hence, when the Division 1's about to start. But just what Division 2's been doing, are we seeing any particularly Chinese other picks coming out? Are they doing the mid laners in the carry role that we see a lot in EU and NA?
I would say OD is definitely the biggest pick here for China, because China has I swear China has the most OD pickers in the world. Everyone in the region abused that hero, and this is why Paparazzi obviously he's playing a lot of that as well, finding some success. And because OD is so popular, I think it would also bring out heroes like Drow, maybe Klings, and especially the Nyx Assassin. Chinese player, they love Nyx Assassin as well, because if the enemy picks OD and you don't pick Nyx Assassin, you're kind of doomed. So every support player is kind of forced to learn Nyx Assassin and pick him up. And I think for upper division, Nyx Assassin definitely will see a lot more light in the upcoming patch or games if the patch doesn't change. And aside from that, I don't see much special thing about China that the other region are not doing. Maybe for Division 2, they seem to not be a big fan of Spirit Breaker so far, because I'm looking at DOTA buff right now, and Spirit Breaker is only picked 4 times and has a 50% win rate.
Pick in EU and NA.
Yeah, right.
SA.
Yeah. So that's something that they don't particularly like, I think, because it's not direct. Chinese player, they like heroes that are direct. They are clear cut. I jump you, I kill you. But Bara is more like, okay, guys, I'm gonna charge these guys across the map. So when I get there, make sure you guys are there too. So there's a lot of communication, and could make things very hard. So maybe that's why Chinese region doesn't really like that so much.
Interesting to hear. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the upper division teams. They're still about 20 days away from the division starting. Is anyone up to anything in the meantime? I know there's a tournament going on that some people have been playing in, teams playing in that.
Tournament? Maybe there's a community tournament that you're talking about, something called TI too, but I'm not too sure. I think that is hosted by a lot of the corporates actually in China. Yeah, and then they have some pro players to engage with them, to be a caster, and they even have some super all-star match with LGD as well. But I think the most interesting one is definitely, so in China, there are 2 big platforms, streaming platforms, Douyu and Huya, 2 very big streaming platforms, as big as Twitch in Western. And then for Douyu, they hosted something like an all-star invitational that they invited a lot of
Okay.
Then a lot of players, like a lot of old players that we have heard before, Old Chicken, if you remember, Sylar, who aggressive. I believe they're all there. So yeah, there's quite a bit of mixtures of retired players and current pro players. So it's pretty fun.
It
I think
always
it's one of the way they keep their form up as well.
it always stuns me that Sylar's only 27 because it feels like he's been in the scene. I forget that when he started, he was about 6 years old because when he's been around for so long, and I'm always like,
Yeah.
well, how is this guy so young? I remember watching him in like TI1. Well, maybe
Damn,
TI2
yeah.
he was around.
He's definitely been there for so long, man. Yeah. And it's a shame not seeing him getting picked up as a coach or anything in a team. I feel like he would be such a big value addition to any team, to be honest.
So are teams getting a bit restless then, or is it kind of keeping their skills up? How's kind of the mood for not having played for such a long time?
Mm, to be honest, I feel like the intensity should be quite there. Because if you look, because the one thing I noticed from other regions is that it feels like Zoomers are slowly taking over the entire scene, and Boomers are getting a little
Yeah.
bit, eliminated. If you look at Enigma, you know, Enigma Galaxy definitely tough to be a fan of them right now. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So for these Chinese teams, it's a very veteran based scene, I would say. So those veterans looking at these things, I would say that if anything, it would be quite a motivation to themselves to not get taken over because all these young bloods, especially in the upper division, there are a lot of young bloods like eHome going for a very young squad, Vichy Gaming going for a very young squad. So yeah, I would say that the drive is definitely there, and I have been seeing the Chinese players that are on my friend list are streaming every single day right now. Ex Nova, he's always in private lobby. He's always playing pub as well. So yeah, I think they are grinding it.
Okay, we've got a big division then to look forward to in early January. We'll preview that next week. But I think that's all we've got to cover this week. Any final thoughts for you? Any other little stories that you want to bring out this week?
Mm, Not really, man. I mean, for myself, I'm just pretty bummed that MKS, the player from CDC, got caught by involved in something like that. And I will just say that he's young, man. He's pretty well known in Malaysia, for Rising Star because he's really young. He's really high skill as well. He's ranked 20 in Southeast Asia. That's probably like 10.2k, 10.5k, somewhere around that. So man, like for all the young players out there, come on, chill, guys. You got a long career to go.
Yeah.
Let's be wise with your decision making.
Let's not burn it immediately. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for joining me today, and thanks for listening, everyone. You can follow us on Twitter, and that's all links in the description. Please go ahead and do that. But until next week, the week after next week, have a good time watching the Chinese DPC, and we will see you very soon.
再见。